Hi, everybody. This is Joanna. Thank you so much for tuning in. And today we are going to talk about, look at these beautiful, beautiful rays of light and gorgeous energies. Thank you, creators. Thank you, holy creators. Today, I wanted to just open in a beautiful conversation and musing and pondering about ascension and the various transitions that everyone is moving through. It's such a profound time right now as we're preparing for not only the 2112, the galactic portal that is always on December 21st, that mirrored day, and how 2020, the profound experiences that we have all faced. In a multidimensional way, financially, physically, emotionally, and mentally, on our socioeconomic systems, within our families, within ourselves, as these mass awakenings are moving ever forward in an accelerated fashion. That light is being bathed upon us in the most loving and most gentle way because of the higher order plans for human collective evolution. And that we have to remember that regardless of what is moving within the outer exterior of our reality, to just be at peace and serene as often as possible, and know of the grander design plan. Know that there is an elegance and a beauty, and we are being bathed in these movements of energetic transitions, that there is always perfect placement for everyone. What I've been sensing and feeling into is because of the mass awakenings and because of such varied frequencies on our planet right now, what's really important is that we remember our centeredness and remember our peace, so that we're not being toppled and swayed emotionally from one side to the other, as so many people are awakening, so many people are speaking their truths, and not being caught up in the minutia of right and wrong and voices against voices and opinions and attitudes. And that just continues the perpetuation of separation, trying to find that equilibrium of centeredness and oneness. And essentially, that is what is going to be really, really important for 2021, as we continue to shed light on the old systems that are needing a rebalancing and a more stable equality and measurement of care for the greater good. And it will be important that that divine relationship, so that all aspects of all involved are honored equally. And that's what's really, really important about that centered balance and maintaining that emotional neutrality. It's going to be more important than anything for the next year, so that we're not being pulled into the seesaw effect of awakening. Because there's going to be so many more people awakening, so many more opportunities for others to voice their unique perspectives and opinions and their unique awakenings, experiences, and so on and so forth, which is incredible. We've never been like this on this planet before. And what we are feeling into and what we've been offering is the ability to create that self-care, so that you're clearing away as much density as possible, so that you can really observe and allow yourself from that centered perspective your own discernment and your own truth, because what others' truths are may not necessarily be what your truth is. And the path to allowing yourself your highest alignment with source and the greater plans of evolution is by doing that inner work and who you are with source. Who are you? What do you exist within, and what exists within you? And as long as you're maintaining that renewal of self, that renewal of who you are as source, your intimate self-knowing of who you are, then you can perceive what's going on in the outer world and not be swayed emotionally by it. And that is detaching yourself emotionally from it, allowing the emotional wave to just move as it will, because it will all balance and neutralize, if you will. Because in any tower moment, regardless of whether it's a government system, whether it's, a global virus, doesn't matter what that tower moment is, there will always be the shaking and the breaking and the rumbling. And then the dust settles, and then we get to rebuild from that place of, okay, that's what occurred. What can we gain and learn from that? How can we create from a higher space of our inner oneness to serve a greater potentiation of who we are becoming, as the awareness of spirit in matter form? We create through our spirit. And if we're not acknowledging ourselves as spirit, if we're not acknowledging ourselves as a soul, then we're going to continue to recreate systems of limitation and separation. Our entire journey on the planet is that remembrance of oneness. that remembrance that we are a spirit, that all is valued, all is equal measure to source creator. So what came up to me this morning was, in various perspectives, it's just perceiving and viewing your state of belonging. And that's a vibrational experience first. Do I belong, in my family circle? Do I feel like I belong? And where is that belonging threaded to deep within? Is it threaded to, these are parts of the transitionings and parts of the breaking apart, parts of the tower moments that is happening within the collective, because there's so many people awakening. When that moment of awakening occurs, it's a vibrational clean out. What belief systems were held to those energies and those beliefs that held you okay to be in the place you were yesterday, but now today it's not okay. It doesn't feel right anymore. I'm not vibrationally feeling as if I can be free and be liberated. I feel as if I'm being stagnant. I feel as if I'm being held back in any which way, giving that as one example. But then going within and then reliving that new expansive awakening potential. Can I create greater expansiveness from where I am? And if not, why? Can I call in the soul tribe that will want to gather around me? Or am I needing to move so that I can negotiate those greater growth and expansive experiences with source on the land and with people that I'm meant to be with? Can I just move within a path of awakening and know that every step source will guide me? And that is my belonging, because I know step by step I'm being guided and I'm meant to be on this path for a reason, because of the lessons that my soul wanted to come and learn. And that soul belonging won't feel like and look like the way that others will perceive it and look at. And this is where we really have to, as a collective, allow ourselves to step back and be okay with how others perceive the unfolding. Because in the initial awakening, just as we perceived the initial virus, it was perceived in certain ways because that is the shock of change. That's the shock of that tower moment. And those are ego reactive. And that's how you know if you're responding from a spiritual, soulful space, which is neutrality, from that higher self perspective, or are you reacting from an ego perspective, which is fear of change, fear of that tower moment, fear of wanting to not make the tower moment happen and just keep forgetting and keep living in those stagnancy experiences. And all are very valid, but there will be so many more awakening that it will be more and more transitioning into those discomfort energies where we have to really step back and not feel the emotional tidal wave in the breaking and in the shaking, detaching from it emotionally and really going within. What is it that I'm feeling? What are the fears that are coming up for me? Am I willing to walk away and be okay with that? Am I willing to call in new soul tribe and be okay with that? Am I willing to say that my life is now different and new? And I'm going to allow myself to be guided from within first, my highest counsel first. Because I know that in that, all will be served, and you can release the obligations and the lessons and the patterning and the traditions and all those things that you felt as if were that bondage holding you in place and not feeling able to spread your wings and soar and fly. And this will be something that everybody will be moving within, because in every way, every single person will be stepping out of a 3D system, whether it's a 9-to-5 routine, whether it's a systematic bondage and experience that we've all co-created. Each and every one of us will have to release bondage in the various levels and degrees that we each experience that have come to heal it. Whether that's through our roles, whether that's through the definitions that we've taken on, whether it's through dogma and traditions. Everybody is steeped within these experiences at some point somewhere. And how can we shake up the various roles that we've believed ourselves to be in and create our own rules and create our own definitions of what we feel free in exploring? And isn't that how it should be? Instead of others perceiving the roles for us, instead of others saying, well, you can't do that because that's never been done before, or I can't see how that's going to work, or I can't see your vision and I can't see your truth and I can't see your visions and dreams. And so that's wrong. You need to come back and be a part of this 3D routine. And there's going to be others that will just say, I just can't do that anymore. I want to create my own thing from my own space. Maybe even my space is outside. Maybe my space is in the water. Maybe my space is getting to know water animals. Maybe my space is in the middle of a forest where I can teach people about forest bathing and how beneficial it is for healing. So allowing yourself to be neutral in the process and accepting of all others' perspectives of how they are moving through their tower moments, how they're moving through their awakening. Because awakening does activate the ego, because it wants to go back into what it's familiar with. It wants to go back into what it's always known. It wants to go back into what it was taught, how it first differentiated itself in association to all of its surroundings. And that's natural. That's how the ego learns to sit back and say, it's not going to be the same. It's not meant to be the same. Yesterday is not meant to be today. Today we are meant to be new. This now minute we're meant to be new, and have it be okay. And because, much of my, in the last couple of years, much of my offerings have been so passionate, and they've been so driven, because that's been my specific soul's experience, is feeling locked and caged, if you will, in an experience that did not feel right for me. Vibrationally, it did not feel right. I knew I came here as a master vibrationally. And through the years of my awakening, I'm owning it more and more and more. And that's called divine discontent. Through self-actualization, we return to that space of divine discontent, and it's meant to occur in every aspirant's path of self-actualization, enlightenment, and awakening. It doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter how experienced you think you are. Awakening will be a constant journey of divine discontent, meaning that the outside world, the ego world, the 3D world, the matter world, will become less and less fixed and important. And we say important in the way that it serves the soul's journey. It is absolutely important for the perspectives of reflection and how we manifest through vibration, and how our oneness is reflected to us. We say less important because as you renew who you are as a soul, that purified love reunion with yourself is all that is required. Because in the self-love, all else becomes that spiritual matter experience. We are creating heaven upon earth through the self-love of who we are, and allowing ourselves bit by bit. And everybody's path is tempered with their own unique pacing, with their own unique guides, and their own unique soul's lessons, and their own unique soul's temperament. And it's perfect. Everybody's path is divine, is designed perfectly for them. There's not one person's path that is perfect. It is perfect to them with source, but to view another person's path and say, I should be where you are, I should be doing what you're doing. No, because your path is different. That's where that going within and renewing your sense of self, your sovereignty within who you are, your divine head within who you are. And that's all that's needed and required. And detach emotionally from the awakening of others, and allow them to get comfortable with the new pace of 5D experiences, which won't be 3D. 5D will not look like 3D. It may in some respects, but it won't be the 9 to 5, 9 to 8, 9 to 7 routines that we've been steeped in. Because divine discontent will show us that living from the heart space and living as a soul, living in sovereign liberation and freedom of who we are, will be more and more, the soul will ache for it. That's what that discontent is. There is nothing that will satisfy anything than your oneness with source, your oneness with spirit. You will seek others that want that oneness. You will seek others that want to spend time with nature and spirit. Because you can sense it, you can feel it, you get satisfied, you get nourished, you get aligned, you feel as if your heart is free again, your heart is aligned again with love, your heart is aligned and nourished, and your heart is appreciated, your heart is valued. All that you are as a multidimensional person is being served. And that's why the path of awakening ever allows us to simplify, to rarefy, to purify, because that's the only thing that will nourish all that you are becoming as light. And light becomes greater light. You awaken to greater light, you want greater light because it feels good. It's who you are. That's how we are naturally nourished by source, is through the breath and through light and aligning with the grandness of our soul. And all of those energies that had us so perplexed and confused and held back from our highest truth, our most expansive truth, becomes less required, like the activities that kept us so distracted from spirit. Divine discontent is that remembrance and the nourishment of spirit in every way, and how we align and how we co-create greater 5D templates so that the all can move and shift in their own time of their 5D transitioning. But 5D templates cannot be made if those forerunners and those mavericks like myself are never feeling that availability and freedom to break free and be that template maker, which we've been making for many years now. The 5D is already here and there. And it's a matter of the vibrational alignment of everyone moving into their own unique timeline for Earth as to what they really want to explore, because there's an infinite number of timelines that we have Earths preparing for that 5D frequency. And there's many different variations of earth that each one of us come to get to experience based on our soul's excitement for growth and expansion. And each soul has their right to move about and explore and express and co-create, so that that soul has its highest potentiation of evolution in any one particular lifetime. And why it's, again, so important to know that you always belong, because that belonging comes from within. And you'll know that as you become more familiar with self-actualization, which is the constant renewal of yourself, your light with your soul, your higher self, you're becoming more and more your higher self, your reflections within, who am I, why, what am I doing here, what exists within me, that micro macro experience in every moment you're co-creating a reality. That's the renewal of the whole self. That's the renewal of yourself as a soul. And in doing so, the ties and the bondage no longer serves. And why, in many of the times that humanity has tried to ascend previously, has been pulled back because certain controlled systems knew of the lack of control that would be maintained. Because when you self-actualize and you ascend, spirit is all that you need and require. And that puts a hindrance on controlled programs that are being fed from, materialistic, controlling, and greedy experiences. And they're all valid, it's all true. But now there are so many awakening that all systems are now seeing that, certain experiences are going through that transition, that tower moment, because it's required. Light will bathe it. Light bathes. It will bathe and clear it all out. Because that is the soul's aching, the soul collective of our humanity. All of us put together, 7.5 billion people. The soul, oversoul collective ache is divine discontent. The collective desires to awaken and be a part of this ascension. At a soul level, our souls are aching, so that when we wake up in our bodies, we become ever more awake. That subconscious becomes conscious. That's what awakening is. You're bringing all of those deep things up from within, the subconscious, what you buried, what your parents projected onto you, what your family projected onto you, what others projected onto you, those things that were not dealt with, were not healed. That's all the subconscious. How we portray and how we allow ourselves to be with one another, and no masks and all of those things that we do, that becomes now conscious. Now I'm bringing this up. This no longer suits who I am. I want to be greater light. I want to align fully with source. I know I have these creative gifts. You activate with what's in your DNA. You activate these beautiful gifts you've always come with. You start seeing how your life has prepared you for these greater and greater moves into expansive territory. And that really is your life's journey. You're living from this heart space. I am a sacred being, and I'm going to live in this sacred way. I know that I'll be brought sacred experiences. I understand it. I can feel it. I can sense it. And keeping that detached emotional experience from the collective allows everyone their experience without the pushing and the pulling on anyone else's path to be right or wrong, or allowing, again, the right use of will. Meaning that every soul has its unique destined journey. Destined in a way that, yes, you affect it by your choices in every moment, but the soul will experience what it is meant to, and it cannot be kept, and there's no one that can keep it from that person. that's that dance with source, and source will ensure that that soul will have the experience that it is meant to have through the divine plan with source, the divine order with source. That's why in those eons that we have been separate from spirit, why we have experienced de-evolution. Because we have been disconnected with our divine evolution with source. And if we're in alignment with that, then we will always just press out naturally, and everything will come to us and everything will be met. But these are the shifts that our collective is experiencing, and why there are so many that feel like, wow, maybe where do I fit? That's a natural progression in self-actualization. Where do I fit? That's allowing you to go within again and say, wow, what am I feeling today? Well, this food no longer serves me anymore. And you just clear out your fridge. You clear out the stuff in the cupboard. You start not watching the shows you used to watch because they don't feed you and nourish you, and you don't feel good after watching them. Or you just change your friend group because the energies just don't serve you anymore, and the dialogue doesn't make you feel uplifted. So all of those are your way of knowing, how can I refine and purify, and how can I realign with my highest truth? And that's meant to happen. And again, it's not for any one person to say, That's not true. You can't do that. You know, you must stay within an old system, and so on. That is impeding the right use of will for another's path, regardless of how it looks. And that's what each person will be experiencing in their journey, because each person will step back and the ego, again, will react. You know, the ego will say, well, no, let's fit back into these systems that we built and we're familiar with. You know, and the spirit will say, but that's not the soul. That's not the path of the spirit. The spirit wants to explore the way the heart and the soul guides, the synchronicities, the dreams, the opportunities, right? That's the soul calling in those opportunities, those pulsations from the soul. You and your soul in dream time and the higher spirits are setting all of these things up to converge. It's called the sacred convergence, through which in divine timing, vibrations align, gateways and portals open, and your experiences that you've gained and the wisdoms that you've gained and the cycles that you've closed out and the lessons that you've gone and the karma that you've cleared, knowing that you've done your highest within your integrity, you've acted within your highest truth, and source will begin to open up that new template and that new puzzle so that you're able to press out as the soul that you are. And that sacred convergence occurs, through which all other councils and groups that you belong with as a soul, your soul is saying, okay, that sacred geometry part of you is ready to move into a new sacred geometry part of others. And that is the Metatronic cube. That Metatronic cube is a vibration. So as you uplift and clear, as you ask yourself those questions, well, where do I fit? I don't feel like I fit here anymore. It doesn't feel good. I don't feel nourished. I don't feel empowered. I'm not inspired. There's nobody encouraging me to be my highest and my best. There's nobody saying that I can reach out and I can, I can reach for my dreams. Or you might be being laughed at or told that you can't do anything. It's not possible. Those are those energies that say, perhaps I have a sacred geometry, the soul tribe that is calling into me, and we're going to gather and connect at that sacred level, the template level, the puzzle level, where all pieces of the puzzle come together to form other sacred geometry, to open portals, to create templates, so that others in their path of awakening will then awaken to their sacred convergence. They'll start to understand their divine discontent. And it's a vibrational, elegant plan. We don't have to know any of it. I understand it because I've experienced it, and I'm the creator of some of the templates and the grids, and why I've had to come and experience my path in the way that I had, not only to clear out my 51% of my karma for my personality perspective and all the lineage that I'm connected with for divine feminine. And part why I've been so passionate is because I've experienced so much limitation that I placed on myself because of the obligation of the rules and the traditions that I placed myself within, so that I could feel the vibrational difference. And I can say my spirit does not feel okay here. And I know that everybody in my circle and in my community, in my city and in my world will be served by me doing and following the spirit of all that I am. Because that's just the natural order of the law of one. If you absolutely are following your soul's destiny in every way, and you are serving that sacred convergence with you, your soul and your higher self with you in source, you absolutely know that everybody will be served. And again, because it's just a part of the ego and the awakening process, those that you had been connected with in certain circles and certain communities will have their own unique perspective of that experience. And that's meant to occur because that's their awakening in that. Some will experience as a positive experience, saying, yeah, you go for it, girl, you go for it. You got to do that for you. I know that there'll be so many people that will be served in you doing that and see that vibrational effect of you pressing out. And then there'll be those that will not. They'll have an infinite number of perspectives in and around that experience of change and devotion to spirit and devotion to change and devotion to new and devotion to something that cannot be seen, but can only be that level of that dream. And that's okay, because that's what their soul needs to perceive it, so that they awaken into a greater understanding, a greater meaning of who they are. And remember, we can look at it from a scientific perspective. And I don't mean to say any of this in any way that is placating anyone to understand an awakener's path. But I'm presenting this as an opportunity to see the infinite number of perspectives and honor it for every soul that's going through it. Every soul will have their unique path. And how can we just step back and not judge it and not demean someone for their need and desire to explore who they are as spirit? Because that pressing out as spirit, just as Jesus and Buddha and every other master that came to teach about the expansiveness of the soul, those teachings would have never come here, and those dynamic, profound, energetic texts would have never been what they are today had those people not pressed out and shown and seen and been that example of that miracle of source that is love, that is that self-actualization of spirit. Or nor would it have been for any inventor that invented something that those that did not have that vision, those that did not have that dream, those that could not see the science and the alchemy behind it, that it wasn't possible. See what we're saying? So it's just a natural part of our evolution that's always been here. And there will always be the collective that is not ready to accept new. And that's okay. It's okay. It's meant to be a part of their unique soul's experience. So you belong. You belong on no matter where you are within the picture and the perspective. You belong. Part of the energy that I was feeling this week is that there's so many that are awakening, mass awakenings, and so much that's going on as the year ends. And we always do a reflection of the year. Because there's so many people awakening, it's like, okay, well, what now? Where do I go now? My job is kind of petering out, and I've got to look at new ways to earn income. Can what I do spiritually make me, the money that I need to co-create? So all of these are being questioned, and that's a part of the awakening process. What are your beliefs about who you are? How do you trust in yourself that source will provide? Do you trust that whatever you are given as a spirit, that you're meant to carry it, no matter how ridiculous and outlandish it may appear to others? You are a groundbreaker, and you've come in that path. And every challenge that you have created for yourself, inspired for yourself, and called in for yourself is because you are the sacred seed. You are the sacred gardener. And others are required to see that seeding so that they know they can too. That's what every master came to teach in the way of their illumination. They lived it. So if we're not living it and constantly allowing our unique soul's plan to press out in however we are guided, it's always a unique, divine, and sacred journey within oneself. And some will be willing to press out because they are the code breakers. They are the dream weavers. They are the map makers. They are the grid workers. They are the template makers. Everything is in our universe is vibrational. We create matter through our spirit. And those of us that understand energy have been working on templates for many, 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 many years. In the mass awakening, there will be those that will all say, yeah, I just love the earth. I get really excited when I'm here. I get really excited when I'm over there. I understand that there's something going on within me, and my chakras are starting to turn on, and I've got the spiraling in my feet and the vibrations in my fingers. There's something going on here. That's where those of us that have been through that path and have been through the clearing out and owning and acknowledging who we are as dynamic divine beings here to show others the oneness with spirit that we've been so separated from, then we get to take on that role of nurturer and guide for all others. And again, not to judge anyone else's path as being right or wrong, but it's unique for them and it's right for them and however they choose to move about it. And have that be okay. That's that neutrality that will allow you your highest path. Because anything that you place out there in judgment comes back to you. It's a vibration, and it's that law of one. We are connected with the all. And when there's energies that are placed out there of wanting to manipulate an outcome, control an outcome, pull people back, whatever it might be that ego wants to do and co-create, that's immediately where one will go within and say, okay, why do I feel the need to control this outcome? Why do I feel the need to have things not change? And that goes back to fear, because you're not sure about what that unknown looks like. That's okay. That's when you go within and say, am I really one with source? If I believe I'm one with source, if I believe I'm one with spirit, then everything will always be well. And whatever changes are meant to occur, it's for my own soul growth. So I need to move through it. You cannot resist. Well, you can resist change, but it will be a really incredibly bumpy ride if you try to resist things changing. Your 3D life going through ascension will look very challenging. And that's when jobs will change, jobs will be taken away, because source is allowing you, your higher self and your soul are allowing you to say, was this really working for me? Even though you complained about it every day of the year. So these are what everybody will be going through. There's no escaping ascension. There's no escaping it. And how each person moves through it is benevolent and divine and sacred. It's a sacred journey. And it's allowing everyone to awaken to that beautiful oneness. This is where our oneness comes in, because they showed me the other day that within all challenges, whether it's individually or collective, because it's a micro macro, regardless of the challenge, it is where the greatest lessons, the beauty, the blessing, and the wisdom occurs. It's where that challenge is. So I'll take you for an example, a personal experience. So if you're moving in a family, and I have some clients that I'm going to thread I'm going to thread the consciousness of the experience that we've mirrored to one another over the many years. So these are two of my beautiful clients that have been with me forever. The beautiful clients that have threaded with me, their feelings as if they're not fitting, and they're having to move through the minutia of being in small circles and bigger circles where they can't freely talk about who they are as energy. They can't freely talk about their love and excitement for tarot. They can't freely talk about their desire to talk and commune with the fairies and the nature elements. And this causes them great upset and separation with those that they really love and they've come with to be in that family experience. Many going through relationship changes, many going through school and vocation changes, because they've asking themselves these really big questions. Well, who am I and where do I fit? Where do I belong? That's a natural part of the feeling and the refining of your frequency within the all. It's just like placing a really big fast engine in a tiny little car that cannot support the speed of it, and the car starts to fall apart, and the all left is the engine. That's energy. Energy will align you to the vibration of where you're meant to be. And that includes land, why so many people move houses and they move. Calling in soul tribe to connect with those of the vibration that fits that sacred geometry so that they can continue creating timelines and templates that are of that similar vibration to continue to feed one another those similar vibrations. And everything is a vibrational fit. It's a vibrational pattern. And it's all done through the harmonics that are source, fed right from Gaia. Gaia wants this too, so she's working with us. Nature elements, they're working with us. Those collectives that want to work with energy and herbs and, organic foods that feed crystalline bodies, the rainbow children, the crystal children, all of those in the soul group that want to work with Gaia, with nature and tonics and herbs and, all of these beautiful healthy foods that help children's bodies and get them off of pharmaceuticals. They will be collecting and gathering in their sacred geometry collective so that they can help one another feed the information that's required. It's no different to those of us that are the crystalline code breakers. We are the ones that create those templates for other generations and other collectives to live upon and to walk within. Because we're the ones that receive it from the divine mind, the councils of light, the heavenly benevolence that say, here's God's plan, here's God's energy, go for it. That's that divine mind working with the creative energies. And it's an elegant system through which all puzzles and pieces of the puzzle work together energetically. And not everyone is at the same vibrational place. It's just not. It's not meant to be. How boring would that be? We'd all wake up tomorrow all ascended. And then we'd be sick for many, many days because people have not worked out their karma to prepare their bodies for that light. And some would be, you just couldn't. You'd have psychotic breaks, because the mind cannot, the physical mind, the lower mind, if those subconscious shadow energies are not transmuted into greater self-acceptance and self-love and self-alignment and self-remembrance, if it's not worked in a gradual progression, then that's when psychotic breaks occur, because the mind cannot wrap itself around what's happening. It's detached itself from the physical reality that doesn't make sense anymore. It's trying to fit the ego. The ego is trying to fit it because the ego is connected with those synaptic programs, those DNA programs, and it's not being actively cleared through awakening. It's not being released and let go. Okay, where do I sit with this now? Okay, well, I can accept change. How is that going to affect my everyday? So that you can work yourself through the dynamic changes that are going on without it having to come to a psychotic break. And we all experience those, those mini breaks, we just do, especially when you're going through quantum leaps, those of us that understand quantum leaping and quantum jumping, you get those psychotic breaks and they last and then they get worked out because of your understanding of how to realign your energy, how to center, how to ground. That's that realigning so that you're not taken too far off vibrationally so that nothing makes sense in your reality anymore. And that's the elegance and the beauty. You are moving at your dynamic pace that's right for you. Don't push it and press it any faster than you're not comfortable with. Right? There was many, many times when my first couple of years of awakening, I was in a collective that were really eager about getting to that next level, getting to that next level. And it seemed like a big energetic race, if you will. And then so many people started to experience these, you know, the backlog, it can't be rushed. It does affect you. You have to work through the minutia multidimensionally of awakening. You can't just go to 8 really intense, chakra awakening classes and then, want to jump to that next stage. You're putting so much stress, especially with the energies that we're being bathed with. Right now, the collective ascension is being bathed and accelerated really, really quickly. And so just relax. Everyone's going through their dynamic, unique path. Temperature, gauging. Every unique soul has their own capacity for light, for the ingathering, for the awakening. Remember, ascension is a cycle. Every soul comes with its unique ability and capacity to garner in greater light, to garner in greater information. Each soul is unique. Not one soul can be compared to another soul because the paths are completely different. Its needs and its desires and its temperament and its speed are completely different. What we're offering here is that you all belong. Ascension is an incredible, sacred journey about who you are within. Knowing that you always belong, you're always with Source. Your path will always be perfect if you just relax into it and allow yourself to receive. Release the idea and the egocentric ideals of comparing yourself to any one person as far as wisdom or intelligence or vibrational measurement, because that's not what Ascension is about. It never has been. And it might, usually in the initial stages of awakening, like we experienced 10 and 15 years ago, those that have been on the path for a while, that's the minutia that we all move through in Ascension. Is you just get so excited and there's so much information, and then the ego starts to compare itself with others, because again, that's when you're allowing yourself, who am I in my collective, and that becomes higher vibrational, minutia, that's the ego acclimatizing itself to a higher vibration. So the more and more you self-actualize, you just release that ego altogether, release the expectations, the control, the judgment, the comparison, the competitiveness, and all of those things that the ego is, because that's the egocentric world we're coming from and healing. Then we just slip into surrender of the spirit, and it becomes, we're all one. We're all one. That reflection of someone seemingly being more ahead of you or more enlightened than you is your reflection back to you to say, I'm worthy and I'm perfect right where I am. I'm enough. So anytime you feel those things coming up, refer yourself back to your center and say, God loves me, Source loves me, I'm perfect as I am. I know that I'm doing far more than I think I know I'm doing, just by releasing that need to compare myself or to be envious of someone or to be jealous of someone. I'm going to feed that energy back to me now, knowing that my path is perfect. I'm going to have my beautiful awakening successes and beautiful journey with Source. And again, return back to spirit. Why do I have the need to have those egocentric experiences? Heal the ego, heal it through the spirit. And everybody's path is unique and different. You always fit, you always belong. However, it's a natural process that you begin to start seeking out better food that feed you, with water-rich contents. Greater entertainment that holds a greater vibration, so that you feed your soul and you nourish your heart. You know that you belong, and then you know that you're loved, and you know that you're supported, and that you will always have someone here on this channel that will support you and let you know that you do belong. You're perfect right where you are. Your path will always be perfect paced. Trust in your higher self, trust in your soul, trust in all that you are with Source, and know that you are the commander to bring healing to your body, to bring that next activation in its unique divine timing. And as I've written about in my first book, that moving to a next phase of awakening is always divinely timed, and your teams and your guides will always show you and tell you and offer to you in its highest guidance to just sit back and relax. And again, it's the journey, it's not the end state. What are you learning and valuing from this moment of minutia? To just detach emotionally, allow the leveling out of energy and the leveling out of this grand awakening shake-up, and just sit back and start reflecting upon, how can I love myself more? How can I really affect me more? You are your greatest benefactor. You are your greatest inspirator. You are your greatest guide. You are your greatest healer. You are your greatest wisdom teacher. And everything that you've attracted in your reality is showing you everything that you need to see and feel and experience. That awakening process is say, okay, what is this showing me? How can I feel more into self-love? How can I feel more into acceptance of all others? Not judging them for their path and their choices, because it's perfect for them. Those that press out and those that don't press out, those that co-create and those that choose not to, they're all equal reflections to one another. It's what is required for that soul to sit back and reflect upon. You know, how can I be more honoring of me in the honoring of others? That's always what it's about. That's why we create that micro macro experience. And that's where Source creates Source's micro macro experience. It's for us to evolve into that greater self-love of, wow, I'm really profound today. Wow, look at me. I'm saying things I've never said before and it really feels good. You know, that's part of that self-acceptance, you know, that self-actualization. You're accepting yourself fully as love, however that may look. You know, however a challenge that is for others to accept and honor and be a part of, because that will be a part that the soul wants to experience well as well. The soul will want its equal play in moving through the minutia of those of acceptance and those of not acceptance. The soul wants those experiences for an infinite number of reasons. For one, meaning that there's still vibrations in your field and in your bodies that are still not in full acceptance of who you are as divinehood, and that's just natural, because we've never gone through 5D ascension. You know, we don't know how to accept ourselves going from, you know, dense 3D programming into the enlightenment of 5-dimensional, where everything is known, everything's transparent. That full radical self-acceptance. That's what we're all healing. That's what we're all moving through. And why we can't judge anyone for their path. I mean, we can judge, that's part of the experience, but I'm offering, allow everybody to feel like they belong. That's the point of my offering today. Allow everyone and yourself, because when you allow others to feel like they belong, you're telling yourself that you belong, right? I belong here, I belong here. And just in my belonging and acceptance of myself right here, right now, I'm opening up the potential for Source to bring me in a vibration that is a vibrational match. Whether it's a new home, whether it's a new job, whether it's a new friend, whatever it might be, whatever it's new food. If you're in the grocery store, show me where my food belongs. Where do I belong within this food? So that I can feel the vibrations in my field of what's drawing me to certain things. Because your field and your senses will show you the food that you're meant to eat. If you go into a grocery store, into the produce section, just ask your higher self and ask your bodies, your intelligence of your cells, the intelligence of your fields, what is it that my body needs to be nourished by? And just listen and feel into it. Some will have clairsentience. Some will hear from their guides and their teams. As we're awakening, we're turning in and on to all of those beings in the consciousness that are with us all the time. You are never alone. You will always have a minimum of 3 to 10 to 15 guides with you, and teams and beings with you, and your ancestors and your family. There's an infinite number of beings with you that just drift in and out all day long. You know, you're never alone. There's always spirit with you, helping you and guiding you and cheering you on as you're taking these moves that others thought you might not take and you thought you might not take, you know? So just allow yourself to know that everyone's path is divinely, uniquely perfect for themselves. And just expect the unexpected. Expect that others will out of nowhere, you know, quit their job and want to move. Expect that others will wake up one day and say, you know what, let's just trash all this food. This is what I want to eat now. And start working in that minutia of awakening and how that looks and feels for everybody. And honoring and respecting everyone is the minutia of 5D, because we're one. There's not one person that won't go through ascension. It will be experienced somehow, some way for all. And it's unique and different for all. It's meant to be that way. Some are the ones that want to be in the front. They're the ones that have had the old soul programming. The old soul programming from an infinite number of lifetimes, galaxies, universes that have come here with other soul group leaders to be that part of that puzzle pressing out. And then there's others that are be here for the nature and the wildlife, so that all aspects of our collective can be nourished and loved and fed from the gifts from us all. And none of us have the same role. None of us have the same experience as the soul, and the gifts that will be awoken through using and being the uniqueness of our own paths. So how can we honor and know that everybody belongs? Everybody's paths will look different. Everybody's paths potentiation will be different. And this is evolution. That's what's really required for our 5D healing and our 5D co-creating and rewriting. So that all beings and all bodies and all aspects of Source's family is known as the benevolence that is Source. Everybody fits, everybody belongs, everybody has a unique path. And we're all meant to experience it in our own unique ways. And it's okay if others don't get it. It's okay if others are resisting it. It's okay if others don't want it. It's okay if others fight against it and argue about it. That's what they need to experience who they are, so that in their own unique timing, they can sit back and reflect, what is this teaching me? Am I going to keep fighting and resisting change? Or is there something in this that I can sit and reflect upon and be a part of? Because at some point their soul will say, and their higher self will get it. That's part of the awakening. And everyone has a unique pace. And there's no judgment or quantitative or qualitative on any of it. There just isn't. There just isn't. That's the beauty of oneness. That's the beauty of Source. And this is where I wanted to show you. This is where this got me this morning, where, this experience about where do I belong? Like there's so many people awakening and people are feeling, I don't even know if I belong anymore. I woke up this morning, I thought, I'm not going to my job. Forget it. I'm out. And they're feeling, I don't even belong anymore. My family's looking at me like I'm crazy. Some of us have been on this ride for 15, 20 years. So, it's the process. And every new phase of your grand awakening, when your DNA gets activated, your fields get cleared out, you do a whole lot of clearing, you're going through the dark night of soul over and over and over again. That's a lot of density held within your chakras that you've taken on to clear for your family and your lineage. And you are being that gentle gardener. You're being the one that sets the pace and sets the new vibrational templates for others to walk on. You see this beautiful Mother Mary here, and the energies of the Christ consciousness, the myriad of realms and dimensions that are going on right now. They're showing me so that I can understand and show it to others that there's an infinite number of layers and vibrations. And wherever we are vibrationally aligned with our heart and our soul, how we attune ourselves to spirit, how we realign with spirit, how we realign with our highest sovereignty, will determine what vibrational layer of earth reality we are co-creating within. We're co-creating right now on higher aspects. My soul is connected with other aspects of the holy mothers and the sisters, preparing different lands and different templates in higher vibrational earth experiences. They're showing me this. So there has to be those ones that stand and say, we're preparing the land for you. We're preparing the codes for you. We're preparing the codes for children that haven't even come here yet, but are sitting in the etheric womb, if you will, waiting to be birthed here. But the vibration isn't high enough yet. The codes are not ready yet, because their vibration is so high. That's how time and time again evolution occurs. However, this generational lifetime is unlike any other, because we are shifting from 3 to 5D. Therefore, the templates and the codes are going to be infinitely different. And there has to be those of us that break the gates open to set the stage so that others can walk upon the land that is ready for those that have the DNA that will be activated by it. And it's the consciousness of the Christ, through the water body, the chakras, the water of the planet, our water bodies, and why we require and will require, as we lighten up, greater and different ways of living and behaving, because we're becoming greater light. The density from old does not serve us anymore. And that is called that divine discontent. This just is not satisfying me anymore. And that's why we've all been there. I mean, I've had many addictions. That's why when you go through the stage of awakening and you think that, wow, it's just not serving me anymore, I've got to get more addiction, and you end up actually going on that process of, I've got to get more. That in the awakening phases, you don't understand why those that have had addictions tend to do that, because they're understanding that their world is no longer satisfying them. They have a level of awareness that their physical, material, dense world is not serving. Because their soul is saying you need to serve yourself by going within and reconnecting as spirit, knowing yourself as spirit, loving yourself as spirit. So this is that learning process. Those that have had, those that have grand energy and have a lot of energy alchemy, their subconscious may be suppressing it because of the programs and the patterning that they've come from. Those that have very big energy, like myself as a crystal and an empath and a high vibrational being. And why, when I was 5, I had my heart chakra aligned. from the Pleiadians. My vibrations were working so high that I was not taught and shown how to work with my energy and maintain my energy in a healthy state, so that I wasn't taking on the energies of others. I was not taught about boundaries, and my heart chakra had to be adjusted. And this is why I went into and created the life that I did and had the addictions that I did, because at those certain phases of awakening, this outside world no longer satisfies you anymore, and you crave and you do things and you create addictions to feed that opened energy. Those that do not understand energy, are not awake to energy, they don't understand that it's the natural progression of your energy quickening. You've got great energy. Just use it in a positive, benevolent, energetic way. You start working with the grids, you're going to find yourself understanding that, wow, I'm actually one with God. I'm one with all things. You're served, and your body and your chakras are fed through that pure love. You don't need outside sources like binge eating or drinking. And we're not taught these things. We were in the earlier days. And that will all come about through, all of our energetic awareness about how profound we are as beings of light. We are able to create and manifest anything. Those teachings have been taken from us because of the controlled systems and those that those controlled systems serve. And that's the beauty. Yes, it served us. We've been stagnant for thousands and thousands of years. It's now time to awaken. It's now time to break open the gate. It's now time to feed new timelines, because you know what? We are infinite and we are eternal. And the light is what will feed us and nourish us and allow us to live in a constant state of oneness and harmony and peace on our planet. We will live as a peaceful planet and allow everybody their path. It's all a divine plan and orchestration. God knows what God's doing. Your soul, your higher self, spirit, creators, Gaia, they all know there are highest beings of consciousness in creation that create galaxies and star systems. They kind of know what they're doing. And this is where you just release the ego identity to say, it's got to be a controlled system that tells me what to do. No, God knows what God's doing. You know what you're doing. Be sovereign. Return yourself within. You know how to feed yourself. You know how yourself to move on. And you always belong. And allow others to feel like they belong. Even if others, that others are making a really challenging choice. That others are having a really difficult time. Just offer your hand in kindness and oneness and say, you belong. You belong. We're all having this new experience of awakening. We're all having this new experience of renewed self-awareness about who we are, and the returning to spirit and the returning to our oneness. It's all going to be unique and different for everybody. And just let everybody know they belong. We'll work it out. We'll be the bridge of the Christ and say, we're preparing new lands, because in another 3 generations, 2 generations, you're going to be right back here. So how does that land want to look for you? Do you want to come back into these same systems? Or do you want something where you can be playful all the time and you will be supported in your play, financially, vibrationally? You'll be nurtured in every way in your creative play. These are old world systems that there'll be those that will be very staunched in trying to see beyond. Well, what do you mean I can make money and I can make my household bills by doing energy work? The whole world is awakening. There's 7.5 billion people that will awaken. Our gifts are uniquely, Source just doesn't, allow souls to be 7.5 billion on the planet without a dynamic plan where we are all served through the gifts and the honoring of one another. See what I'm saying? That's ego. Spirit just says, just be playful. Just be. You all belong. You all belong there. You all chose to come here. You all chose to have the gifts you have. Let the ideas and the judgments and the ideologies release. Allow people their path. Allow people their placement and support them in it. Support those that are going forward first. Encourage those that want to press out first, because they're preparing your next lifetime and your children's lifetime. It's not meant to look like 3D. It's changing and it's shifting. So allow everybody to belong. Everyone belongs. Everyone belongs. And allow the gatekeepers their role. Allow the code breakers their role. Allow the nutritionists their role. Allow the sacred teachers their role. Because you're going to be in it. You're going to find your way with Source, and you're going to be in one of those placements. And it's allowing us to always reflect to one another what it is we need to go within, radically self-accept, radically self-love, and bring out anew and be that bridge of the Holy Christ. that's living within each and every one of us. Every droplet of water, the Christ exists. And we say the Christ outside of any dogma and doctrine that's ever been written about, because that is the highest Metatronic sacred geometry that we are as light, the ever pressing out eternal light of Christ. The Christ consciousness is a vibration at our highest multidimensional experience. And Jesus was a master that came in emulation, illumination, and radiation of that. We are far more profound than we have given ourselves credit for, and we are breaking out. So allow it. Allow the breaking, allow the crumbling, and allow yourself to be okay with, right now I fit. Right now, this is my pace. There is a cycle to my ascension. How can I feel good and okay with where I am? And maybe I start journaling my cycle. Maybe I start trying different things. Maybe I start really getting excited about it. The greatest way to feel great about change is to get excited about it and embrace it, because you know that it will serve you. There's no reason why your soul pulled it to you, because you're meant to be in this change. Embrace it and just see what's there for you. Your soul knows that there's something in that for you. So go to it. Run to it. Be excited about the change. You belong. You're perfect. You're profound. And we love you. Thank you, dear lighted ones. We love you. Bye. Thank you, angels. Thank you, angels. Bye.